Welcome to the Venue Owner series of the Venue Success Podcast. I'm your host, Tirza Kafi, and I'm so excited to be with you guys today. So for those of you guys who have been catching this season, it's all about connecting you with venue professionals from all across the country so you could hear firsthand the lessons that they've learned, the highs and lows and everything in between. And as I was thinking about this season, Tony and Jennifer just kept coming back in my mind, and I've been following them on social media ever since I met them earlier this year. And so I am so excited to introduce you to Tony and Jen today. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
So I'm just going to share a little bit about them, and then they're going to share some of their story. But this is our second Venue Owner series that we've done. And typically I'm bringing people on that are a little bit further down the road than Tony and Jennifer are. But the more I was thinking about it, there's just so many new venue owners out there that are building. They're in that first I was going to call it the honeymoon season, but I don't know if there's so much that's honeymoon about it, and we'll get into that. But it's just like someone just hearing from people that are kind of in those early stages. So I just feel like the different perspective would be really awesome. But I met Tony and Jennifer at a conference that I was speaking at. When was that? It was in March, maybe. I think it was in early March. And we got stuck on a bus together. We trauma bonded just a tiny bit and had such a fun time just learning about them while we were sitting on the bus. And so I have been faithfully following them ever since we met. I absolutely love this place that they're building. So we're definitely going to put their Instagram in the show notes like always. But if you are someone that's at the beginning stages, I want to just say they are doing such an incredible job building anticipation and excitement, just showing the couples that are booking and all of that. So it's really, really great. So just a little bit about Tony and Jennifer. They are the owners of the Promise of 2912. And I'm sure that they're going to share with you where that name came from. And it's a pretty cool story. But just a little bit about them, some fun facts. Tony and Jennifer started with very humble beginnings. Jennifer began in the Coast Guard and far away from home. And so they eloped. So I guess you haven't had that big celebration yet, but they went from not having a wedding themselves to now working with all of these couples that are planning their big day. So they said that building a wedding venue and working with these beautiful couples, planning and dreaming, has been super fulfilling. And they're hoping to maybe one of these days celebrate at their venue. Yeah. I mean, who knows? What's the next big anniversary that you have coming up?
27.
Well, yeah.
27.
Actually,
yeah,
that's to renew our
maybe
vows.
30.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
30.
At venue number
Maybe
3.
30, a little, there you go. Or 29 at 12 o'clock. Who knows? Here's a little bio about them. I don't always read all of these, but I loved this so much. So I'm just going to straight up read their bio for you because it's really a cool story. So Jennifer and Tony are realizing the dream of building a brand new wedding and event venue in central Indiana on Jennifer's childhood property. So they have 24 acres that the Promise of 2912 wedding and event venue is located on. And it was first her great-grandmother's farm and home, which is so cool. Then it was passed on to her mother, who built a home on the property and raised Jennifer and her 2 siblings there. When Jennifer's mom passed away in 2021, Jennifer and Tony knew that they did not want to part with the property, and one way to keep the legacy intact was to give it a new purpose. So with Tony's expertise in sales and his passion of helping others reach their desired result, combined with Jennifer's passion of hospitality and design, they knew the perfect place to create was what Jennifer had in her heart, what she called home, and the property that was promised from generation to generation. It's so cool, so cool. So when we were talking on the bus and you were kind of sharing a little bit about your story with this venue and this land and all this stuff, one of the first questions I had for you was, tell me about this name of the Promise of 2912. So I'd love to start there and explain that a little bit to our listeners today.
Sure. And thank you so much for your kind words also. We had a blast during that conference, and hopefully we get to go again here soon. And that was traumatic on the bus. We were the fun bus, though.
Absolutely. I think so, too.
Yes. So When I was trying to think of a name, when we really decided to move forward with this and start all of the work and the due diligence, I knew I wanted a very meaningful name, a name that stood out. And I just was thinking about what that property always stood for. Beginning with my great grandma, I can remember her telling my mom that one day this will all be yours. It's a beautiful property. And so it was passed on to her. And then I can remember, of course, my mom telling my siblings and I, it was just always promised. It was their pride and joy, both women, two very strong women in my life. And so it was just always promised from generation to generation. And then the address is 2912 of my childhood home where I grew up. And I thought, let me Google 2912 because I was actually just looking for if there's other businesses kind of incorporating numbers into their business name. And so
Mm-hmm.
the very first thing that popped up was Jeremiah 2912, which is, of course, a very big promise from God. So it just, at that point, I thought, I think I have to call our business the Promise of 2912, the venue. So there was no question after that.
I love that. So do you guys ever shorten it when you're talking with couples? Do you call it the promise or do you just say the whole thing, the promise of 2912 when you're chatting with people?
Yeah, we'll shorten it. Sometimes our website designer and she did our logo and our branding also did a very neat the logo that says 2912. So we will call it the promise. We do with couples and we've also kind of named every building, every space on the venue as well. So the actual building, the event building that holds the receptions is called the 2912. So yeah, we nickname it.
And then the chapel is the Promise Chapel. The whole will be the Promise of 2912.
Yeah.
I think also the promise, just the fact that they're making vows and this promise to each other is, I mean, that's probably, you guys have your meaning and then the couples
Right.
probably
Yes.
have their own meaning. So I think it's really cool. And I love it. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Like sometimes I see, I mean, I do this for a living, evaluating websites and talking to venue owners all across the country. And then sometimes you see these names, that it's very sentimental to them. It's probably got some very deep meaning, but it just absolutely does not fit for a wedding venue. And so another high five to you guys that you chose something that was meaningful, but also made sense for your business. So I would say to people that are looking to name their venue that it should be something that resonates with you. I think that's a cool thing, but it also needs to make sense from a marketing perspective too. You guys did a really, really great job with that. So I know that you have this historic property, historic to your family, and you guys haven't ever really been, from my memory, right? You haven't really ever been in the wedding industry. So when you're thinking about what to put in this property, what were some of the other considerations that you had? Obviously, you landed on the wedding venue, but did you think of anything else, or was it always just, it's going to be a wedding venue?
Yeah, wedding venue. Now, I remember conversations with my mom of I think she really thought it would be cool because it's very wooded. And I deer hunt. And so I would go out there and come in to warm up. And my mom would always talk about like an Airbnb. She would love to share the property in some regard like that, or even like little hunting cabins, to maybe lease out some land for hunters and everything. So that was something she always, daydreamed about and everything. And we talked about how cool it would be. But I think, once we inherited the property, we knew that this was going to be a venue. I don't think we really considered anything else there.
I love that. So Tony, you married into this,
Yeah, that's right.
which, hey, is a good thing. But obviously, this is very different than what you do in I
Yeah.
mean, you do sales, so sales is sales in a lot of ways. But how have you experienced kind of coming into this new industry, and how are you feeling about this new chapter of your
I'm
lives?
really excited. Her vision for the whole property and what she coming from a really good place. She's fourth generation for the property, and we've been married 26 years. And when we met, we flew back to India, and I met her mom and her family, and that's the property that I've known the longest. When I was younger, we moved around a lot growing up, and she was born and raised in that home, and that house is very near and dear to me. Our kids grew up every Christmas dinner and Easter dinner kitchen with her mom, and so that house feels like a home base to me, and that's I take that. I mean, that's very important to me. So when she came with the idea that she wanted to do the venue, I love sales and I love helping people, and we already have a business. We just jumped into it, and in the beginning, she told me she wanted to open up a wedding venue out there. I said, "A wedding venue? Where? Like in the woods?" Or so I wasn't really on board. But then she showed me some ideas, showed me a video of a guy on the internet, on YouTube. And shout out to Blake Harris. He's an amazing person. But so we actually emailed him, and he had this little, I think 5 videos on YouTube about how to start a wedding venue. And he started one
Mhm.
from scratch on 48 acres. He bought the land and built an 11,000 square foot building. And I mean, this guy is an open book. So we reached out to him and flew out there, worked a couple weddings with him, and then we've become really good friends. And we've gone out there again, and now he has 7 properties that 4 of them and 3 or 4 extra other properties that he manages. It's just unbelievable. So that's how we really got into it.
What a gift he gave you by being so
Unbelievable.
transparent and welcoming. I remember you guys telling me on the bus about how he invited you and let you shadow an event and
Yeah.
let you see some of the behind the scenes. There's so much value behind the curtain, right? Like the things that you just don't even imagine go on at a
Yeah.
wedding that you
Yeah.
guys got to see. And, I'm always just amazed at how beautifully the venue industry has grown. Like when we started back in the early 90s, gosh, man, we did not have the resources obviously that are at everyone's fingertips now. And so I just feel that the success that venue owners can have now is so much greater because of the resources. And, you know, someone could go put 5 videos on YouTube and not think maybe too much about it. And
Hmm.
it's really an incredible thing. And the podcast, too, it's just like, to be able to take a walk and listen and to get this free education is just so valuable. So I really hope today, as people listen, that there's something that they can glean from this. I want to kind of just go back a little bit into at the very beginning of this process with funding and the bank and all of the things. How did you go about kind of deciding, number one, like, was it, this is the venue I want, this is exactly what I want to design, and then let's figure out how much it cost? Or was it, how much funding can we get, and then this is what we're going to build? Talk to us without getting, too deep into your business. How did you go about deciding the type of venue that you're going to create?
Yeah, this is a good question. So we wanted something very, very nice, but we were very new to the whole process of, from A to Z. So this is graduated from having a very pretty, almost like a tent with
Yeah.
maybe a pavilion for a reception space or both in the tent. And it was actually when we met with the county for the first time, just to hear how our zoning process would go, where we were told hands down, no question, we would have to have a commercial septic for anything like that. So
Mm.
we tell each other this has grown around toilets because we thought if we have to have a commercial septic, then we're going to have real bathrooms. And if we have real bathrooms, we need a real building. And so it snowballed. And I think that
Tony's
that's,
sweating.
yeah.
He's
I
like,
am.
yeah, it
I need a
snowballed.
fan here.
Oh, yeah. So you learn a lot as you go, and then that's kind of what shaped the whole vision. We kind of grew with it. And I know that when we were feeling our way around, talking to builders, really not knowing where to even launch from at that point, um, it started to take its own shape. And then I know for sure for us, I'm sure other people who have built ground up venues maybe experience this. Every time we got a price on something, it took us about a week to digest that price, that number. But then we did. And we always came back to kind of crunching numbers again on could this be possible? Could we cover this? And if we felt peace about it, then we move forward and either talk to another builder or keep working on that business plan. So to answer your question, because of events, the vision took shape, and then we started asking lenders for that amount for to fund the vision.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't ask what we could get and then try to fit into that box. So
Mm-hmm.
And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it, when you're first starting to try to get the funding, banks do not like to take risks. I mean, they want to know what you're getting in. And going to them and literally giving them, talk to all the banks and giving them the financial statements and what are you worth and what's your properties and blah, 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 the whole 9 yards, doing it so many times and just getting tired of the same questions and tax returns and this and that. They're very safe, and I understand they're not in a business to take a risk on a startup. They told us a couple of times we would gladly give you a loan. There was a couple of venues for sale. We would gladly give you a loan on these venues, but your venue doesn't have any history. You guys are showing us an Excel sheet on what you're expecting to get. Shout
Uh-huh.
out to Blake Harris again because we used some of that information. He kind of helped us with
Yeah.
the
Mm-hmm.
vision and what you have planned. And but really, what I can tell people in that situation that's in the same situation as we are is we spent a little bit of money on making sure all our ducks were in a row before we went and spoke with the bank. We didn't go to the bank and say, "Hey, we got this napkin idea, blah blah blah." We had a 42 page,
Yes.
and Jennifer is the star behind it because my attention span is this long, unfortunately. But she just spent time and she's asking me, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I give her my
A
option.
full business plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
42
very full
page.
business
We
plan.
had the architect hired. We had the drawings made. We had our plan, the name, the logo, everything. We had gone in and invested the money into getting everything as if we were opening in 6 months. So we spoke and I said, we have to go into this as if we already have the loan and we're opening up because we're selling the vision to the bank and they're in the business of being in their office and looking at numbers and not going out and hey, this is a great idea or let's go ahead and do this. But so there's a lot of little pieces that we put into play first and then went in. And a lot of the things that we heard from the banks were, hey, this is a very well thought out plan. And we rarely see, I mean, I'm not saying this to brag, but they said a lot of people come in here without all this stuff already in a row. And we were happy about that because we spent a lot of time doing that. But we took a lot of that information from our prior business or the business that we currently have. And being prepared is just the number one thing and anybody that wants to know what to do, reach out to us. I'll be happy to give you guys the steps that we took to just kind of get to that point, to the table with the banks. And then everything else is just all the other little details that you had to convince them about, I guess.
Yeah, it's like when you build a house and you're like, actually, I do want that upgraded tile. And then
Oh
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
okay, well, it's like, but on a way
She's
bigger scale, right? And
she's the
Yeah.
you like, it's
interior
so
designer.
hard.
It is
That's the
hard.
interior designer right there.
Yeah, well, interior designers have very expensive
Yeah.
taste.
Yeah. I didn't say it, you did, Teardrop.
I say it.
Listen, it's not a bad thing. So it's not bad unless you run out of money,
Yes.
I should say, actually. And I say this a lot. Like, it is so fun, especially a lot of us as entrepreneurs. This part of the process is stressful, obviously, but it's really so fun to make our properties better and better and better. And sometimes it's a little addictive. And so we do have to be careful because you don't have to. Okay, I'm going to say this to you guys. You don't have to do it all right now.
Yes.
You're going to be tempted to, but there's so many things that you see that maybe other people won't, that you can just gradually, right? Maybe you have your 5-year plan of, okay, well, we can't afford $200,000 of landscaping right now, but we could do 50, like going to be continuously growing and getting better. So Tony did not pay me to say that, I promise. But what were some of the unexpected challenges or some of the obstacles that you've had so far.
Broke ground in December. So we got all the permits last week of December
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
when the
Okay.
excavator started moving the dirt, and then we had a deep freeze, so it was below the frost line. So they had to stop,
Yeah.
and they started up again the first week of April of this year, 2026, and started pushing dirt and bringing in a ton of dirt and rock and getting the parking lots ready and getting the area built up where the venue, the 2912, and where the chapel will be sitting. We picked a really impossible place to place the chapel, but we really wanted it to be there. It's surrounded by 60 acres of farmland, and then we have our 24 acres and a creek and woods, and we just wanted that chapel there. But in that area of which is north of that property, it is naturally lower. So they brought in thousands of tons of dirt to bring that whole area up 6 feet. And when you're standing on
My
yeah, that's
Yeah.
goodness.
quite a bit to build a building up. And then the event space, that's 6 feet higher. We wanted that to be the focal point there's a rural road that runs in front of the venue. And then obviously when you pull into the property, you're passing a pond, you're pulling in between two parking lots, and what you're seeing is the chapel. And for photographs, it'll be unbelievable when the bride and groom is in front of in front of the chapel. And we just didn't want that to be lower than the parking lot. We wanted it to be
Yeah.
higher. So we're super happy that that happened. But that was
Yeah.
one of the
Yeah.
So,
surprises.
and how about the surprise of how much dirt cost?
The
Site
site
work.
work is a big,
Yes.
big, you don't think about that, but it's a huge,
It's a huge portion of the
yeah,
loan.
it's about 25% of the loan
Mhm.
is just phase one, the site work of leveling everything and then getting all the perimeter drains in, preparing for the parking. We have a 40,000 square foot parking lot, 100 cars. It'll be paved and striped. So there's a lot of work that goes into doing that. And I mean, we threw around the idea, hey, should we get gravel? You save a lot of money. And Jennifer's like, absolutely not. You can't walk with high heels.
Mm.
So there was a lot of trying to conserve, but for what we're trying to create, you just can't do that. I mean, there's fortunately and unfortunately, I guess,
Yeah, and we had a lot of this is so we're the first in our county that has done a ground up build in the county, outside of city limits.
Interesting.
So we were pretty much told from the very beginning that we're all just going to have to feel this out together because there's some things there's no county code or anything listed on that they
Hmm.
can
Hmm.
base things off of. So, as far as the parking lot, even if we wanted to save several tens of thousands
yeah.
on
I was gonna say,
asphalt,
Yeah.
we had
yes.
no choice. So the county
Mm,
said it must be asphalt. So in the end, we really didn't have a choice.
And you kind of feel like, well, what
But
is it?
but we're glad in the end,
Yeah,
we're like, well, that takes our decision. Maybe we would have gone with gravel at first. And, now it's just kind of, we've been instructed to do it. So that takes that off the plate. We know this much of the budget has to go to that. So there's been a lot of that pop up too, just because we're kind of blazing the trail here. So there's been a lot of kind of guesswork going into that.
which I could see the pros and cons of that for sure,
Yeah,
especially when they say, no, you have to pave it. But it's like, well, there's no protocol for this. So why are
exactly.
you saying that? Like I could see that but also maybe that works out in your favor in
Yes.
some regard too.
that's
Yeah.
how we looked at
Yeah.
it. I mean, obviously in the beginning, you're like, well, shoot, why do they have to tell us what we have to do? There's other places that have businesses, the churches, and that they have a gravel parking lot. Why do we have to do the asphalt striped and bump outs with landscaping in the middle of the parking lot? But at the end of the day, when a client pulls up there, when you're touring with them and they pull up and you have everything on and they're walking through and they see the parking lot, handicap parking, just the whole 9 yards, it's that first impression. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. I always say that.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
you can apologize as much as you want, but when you have that client coming in for the first time, they've looked at you online, they've seen how quick you follow up with them or reply to the message. Then they get there and there's a parking lot, and originally we didn't want that, but it ended up we have to have that, and it's a kind of a blessing in disguise, and I think long term it'll definitely help.
Obviously, I'm a big fan of your chapel. I don't have a venue anymore, but like I had been dreaming for so long. We just didn't have, we only had 6 acres, but like I wanted to build a chapel so bad. It was 2 years ago, wedding MBA, and I was like, you guys, it's coming, like, the chapels are coming, and I don't even wanna call it a trend, actually, because I don't think that it's gonna go away, but really, truly, in the last several years, the amount of these chapels that are going up, it's so smart of you guys that you did that, because it really is, first of all, the stress that you won't have, that a lot of us that are, our main ceremony space is outside, like, gosh, you're gonna it's gonna be so much better for you. But what made you to decide to go the path of doing the chapel? Because obviously that was a really big expense added to all of
Oh, yeah.
this.
Oh yeah.
It was that like a deal breaker thing that you wanted to have from the beginning? Like, what was the thought process with the chapel?
Like I had mentioned before, I had imagined like some kind of space and like a tent, like a clear tent. We're out in the woods.
Yeah.
It's like magical, especially in the fall. So I thought it'd be pretty to have a clear tent. And we considered a glass building even, and then found out that's going to be
Hmm.
just as much as stick building a building almost by the time logistically you get all that done.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I think actually the chapel had always been in my mind. And as a matter of fact, when I said this is what it really needs to be is a chapel, then we'll work out. Maybe the tent is the reception space or whatever. I remember looking, I think on Pinterest or something, and
Hmm.
pulling up
Hmm.
old chapels. And then I finally found, I think it was in Texas, another wedding venue with a very small chapel. And I went, that's it. We've been working on this for 4 years. So even though we're
Mm.
just now building, like these ideas and the thought process was 4 years ago, 3 years ago. So
Yeah, I had a tour today. So I was showing them the renderings when we were walking through the chapel, and the revision date the first time was 2023. And then prior to that, it was probably a year and a half
mhm,
of us talking and
Yeah.
drawing, and
yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's been a little while.
Yeah. So I knew that I wanted to have that chapel, and it would have been a deal breaker because I know even some of the banks that we had talked to had, said, maybe can you do a phase one and a phase two? Can you do like the one building and then add like the chapel later? And we said no,
We
we
were
can't
gonna,
do that.
yeah. I mean, they just wanted either the
Yeah.
chapel, and then we do a nice tent, and there's a lot of things. So we looked at a lot of pictures with the lights, and you can do some beautiful
Hmm.
tents and
Hmm.
Mhm.
like a garden theme, and have the chapel, and then not the chapel. And we're like, well, where would the bathrooms be? Where,
Yeah, we had to have those bathrooms.
people spend 20, 25 minutes on a ceremony, and you spend an hours, and if it's hot out, we need, so then
Hmm.
we're like, okay, we can't do the chapel, then we're gonna go with the other building, which is the with the kitchen and the office and the indoor bathrooms, VIP suites, and then we say no, the chapel is kind of like the trademark. That's why people come. So it's like you have a building you're gonna spend 20 minutes in, or you have one that you do everything else in, or the bar, the music, the dancing. What do we do? Can we flip that building? We've been to weddings, we have one space and you do the indoor, and then we say, let's do an outdoor open air chapel with like a tent, and then in the second season come and do build the chapel. But then we're thinking
Hmm.
there'll be a ton of ruts with the equipment, and we were at a point where like it's either going to be this or not nothing. We're not going
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
cut back on it, and ended up, I don't know if it was just the way all the praying that we did and the confidence that the bank saw, that we're like, hey, we're not going to do it if we can't do it this way, because this will work. And we just kept saying it in a way. We were just blessed enough for them to say, hey, that I still have the email. I sent to Blake right when I got it from the banker. He said, we believe in your dream and we want to build this dream with you. And he put a smiley face. And that was the head guy at the bank. And I immediately called her and then forwarded it to Blake because we had worked on it for so long. But that's how we kind of kept everything.
I love that. Thank you for sharing the details of that
Yeah.
story, and I think that's really actually quite smart of you because it really is difficult once you're already producing events to do another huge
Oh, yeah.
project like that. So that was very, very smart of you. I've seen venues try to do it, and they basically have to for a season
Yeah.
when it's
Right.
that big. So I'm so glad that the Lord paved that way for
Oh yeah,
you. So
absolutely.
not being in the wedding industry, right? So just kind of coming into it, being great students of the industry. What did you feel like was kind of missing in your area that made you be really intentional about the business and the experiences that you want your couples to have at the promise?
The main thing was, so we have a business, so we've been in business for 18 years. We love business. I absolutely love it. I love helping people that's opening business. I've helped several people locally open several businesses, and they like to bounce ideas off of me. And I learn from them. They learn from us. And the whole idea behind this was there's a lot of beautiful venues in Indiana and around Indiana, in Ohio, Kentucky, Chicago, and there's a couple, one that was built recently, and it's just gorgeous venues with an amazing team behind them. And we just wanted to build something where I don't remember what was trendy when we got married 26 years ago, but I do remember the feeling that I had. And we were trying to bottle the feeling that people get when they walk into that chapel or onto that property and they see the chapel, they see the event space. At first, it was just the renderings, but that feeling it's not a trend. A trend will come and go. For us to try to chase a TikTok trend or an Instagram trend, those things change so quickly. Like this is trendy today. 4 days later, this is trendy. Then everybody's following that. And then it's just, we can't operate a business that way. So we figured, what do we do where number one, the photographs will be fantastic because they will last. And number two, what will cause the guests that are coming and the bride and groom to have a feeling they can't explain either during the tour and obviously when they're standing up on that altar. And that was that glass altar, floor to ceiling windows facing north, facing the field. I mean, it's 60 acres of land, and you have woods and a creek, and it was just a perfect spot to put that. And we just kept telling each other, this is it. Like, we feel so good about this internally, and it just has this feeling that we cannot explain. And I know it's cliche. You're like, oh, it's just this feeling, but it really is. I mean, this has been our life for the past 4 years, and thinking of it and dreaming about it, driving over there when there's before any shovel was even put in the ground. I drove over there at 7:30 in the morning every day before work and sat there, had my coffee, just looking at the property with trees and dirt. Nobody had worked on anything. Used to call her and say, "Hey, it's going to be here. It's nice, blah blah blah," and then just did that every day. Sometimes I went out there on my way home from work, and finally to have the chapel and that feeling, that's what we were trying to chase. We were trying to chase couples having that feeling. And we've noticed that when people call in, and we went live with our website at the end of the year in 2025. And I mean, the response has been humbling. The renderings, people see the renderings, they come and tour the house. Then we would drive them to the property and point, okay, that's where we're going to put the chapel. And over here, we're putting the event space. There was nothing there. And they saw the vision. And a lot of couples booked, but some didn't because some wanted to actually walk through a building, but they followed along. And in April and May, when the framing went up and the foundations were poured, the roof went on. Now we're having a lot of tours and hearing from people that says, "Hey, I've been following you since last year, and you guys have seen the progression, and I'd like to come tour." And these are engaged couples that take a little longer to book, but they want to make sure that they're getting what they want, and they believed in the vision, but they were a little worried. And I don't blame them. I wouldn't. I mean, if I'm touring somewhere and there's nothing there but woods, and somebody's telling me, "Hey, we're gonna put a chapel here," I'm like, I'm not gonna give you my money just yet. Just let me see if it's really gonna
Yeah.
go up." So, but yeah, so that
Yeah.
was a feeling, just having that feeling for people, and I think that worked out.
Yeah. I wanted to create a place that had that feeling of like tradition and nostalgia and
Yep. Mhm.
just that feeling like, okay, we're connected here. I would tell Tony and anyone I talk to, I want everyone to feel like they don't want to leave. I
Mhm.
want people to feel like they want to stay there all week
That's how
or,
her mom was. That's how
yeah,
Jennifer
I mean,
is.
that's
Mhm.
how I grew up with people coming over or something. They never wanted to leave. They, close out the
Mhm.
day just hanging out, it feels like you're in maybe Tennessee somewhere. It's just a beautiful property.
Yeah.
So, that's what I wanted to create. Just something different. And then, but like Tony was saying, that feeling, that genuine feeling. This is sacred. It's nostalgic. It just had that
Mhm.
feeling to it.
It's something that, from that sales perspective, and I know Tony and I geek out over this whole sales thing. Our current buyers, they love that. Like, so our current buyers are like the age of our kids, right? So, I think about my kids who have apps on their phones that make their beautiful, gorgeous pictures on their phone look like a 90s
Yes.
photo that we got at Walgreens, right? And I'm like, "Why are you doing that?" And they're like, "It's so cool. It's like old school. It's so awesome." And so when I hear you say that, I also think the chapel, even if people aren't quote unquote religious, they like the nostalgia
Yes.
of the chapel. Even if they aren't, like churchy people or whatever. They just think it's old school,
Yes.
like, and I think the other side of what you guys are saying is as you're both talking, I'm thinking it's authenticity. They are looking for something real, something that feels genuine. And I think that's something that you guys, gosh, you've done such a great job, even in your social media. And I want to talk about that in a minute, but you've done a really great job expressing that in the way that you guys position yourselves, the way that you speak to your couples online. I think you've done a really great job about that. And I think it's really one of those things that helps you love your business when you could create it in a way that feels true to yourselves. And it's what's going to help you be really, really successful. So, another big high five on that.
Thank you.
I do want to talk about sales a minute, and we weren't really planning to talk about this. I can't
My
help it.
favorite
We
part.
have to talk about it. I know,
I
but we're
love
not
it.
going to geek out too
I
long. We're
love
not
it.
going to geek out too long.
Okay.
I sometimes Tony knows, and I actually looked at you in the eyeballs and I said, because he was like, I'm in car sales, like I love sales. I was like, calm down, cowboy, because it's not the same. Do
Was
you
it?
remember I told you that standing in the
Yeah.
I
back of the
know.
room?
I
I was
know.
like, it's not
Yeah.
exactly the same.
I know.
And I'm sure you were learning that. But there are principles that are absolutely are very
Yes.
much, being
Very.
able to read people, and there is a personality that is helpful to have when you're in sales for sure. But I want to just not jump into the actual sales of what you guys are doing, but knowing how to position yourself in your market and how to price yourself. Can we talk about that a little bit? Just because I feel like it, I mean, I work with venues all the time on this. How did you guys decide how to price your venue?
Question you want to take?
Yeah, I'll start
Okay.
since it's not about
Sales.
sales too much. Well,
We'll get into that, Tony. Hold on.
It's
Hold on. He's
another
like, come on, let's go.
episode.
Let's go.
It's another episode.
So we did a lot of research, a lot of looking at the market, looking at surrounding venues. We're really I don't think we're very overpopulated with venues at all. We have several, we have competition, but we're pretty spread out here still. So the market analysis and just constantly pricing the venues that made their pricing public. And then some either even would they have their calendars available to see, so you can get a good feel of what they're booking, what they're charging. Because obviously if their calendars are empty, their price isn't right. Or, it's not working for people. So we did that. And then I dabbled in real estate. So I kind of, with every venue, I kind of run a comp like I would on a
Mm-hmm.
house. What do they have that we won't? And what will we have that they don't? So that kind of thing
Exactly.
rests there. And I think, for our first year, we'll probably be we're certainly not trying to undercut anyone, but we are doing an introductory,
Competitive.
yeah,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's
yes.
introductory price, and 2028 the pricing will go up because if we're offering 4 spaces. You get a whole house. The brides get a bridal house, the house that she grew up in. It's being
Mm,
totally renovated to become a bridal house. It's a 3 bedroom, 2 bath home, sits on 2 acres. Then adjacent to the property is the venue property and the chapel and the 2912. And then on the 2 acres, there's 1,000 square foot rectangle garage that's being completely redone to become a man cave. There'll be built-in bunk beds in there for overnight stay. The house offers overnight stay, walk-in shower, tiled shower, bathroom. So it's quite a bit that you get for the 14-hour reservation,
yeah.
and it includes all tables and chairs, and includes staff, set up and tear down. We don't have hidden charges for cleanup, or we have couples ask us, "Hey, can we come in a half hour early?" Sure. First year, we're pretty open until things
We'll come
change.
back and talk in a
Yeah.
year. We'll come back. Yeah.
Blake told us I was super open the first year, but after each wedding, I'm like, yeah, I'm changing my contract up.
Not doing that.
I'm
Not
not
doing
doing that
that.
one
Yeah.
again. He said he
Yeah.
changed his contract
Yeah.
a bunch of
You'll
times the
learn.
first.
You'll
Yeah,
learn.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. And honestly, like you have to learn it
Of
yourself.
course, you
And
have.
whenever I share like my policies with venues that I'm coaching and stuff like that, they're like, what in the world here is that? And I'm like, listen to me. Every single one of these policies has a story behind it. I promise you. So like you just kind of learn, and every venue is a little bit different. It's fun to say yes in the
It
beginning.
is. It is. It is. It
And
is.
it's fun to say yes when Tony is like, yeah, 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 I'll do that. And then Jennifer has to produce a wedding that Tony said yes, yes, yes
So
to
here's the thing.
everything. And
So
you're like,
here's the thing.
what did you do?
Thing the dealerships. We get a lot of people that want certain things, and 20 plus years in the business, it's a tough business, the one that I'm in, and I'm happily transitioned to this because this is really fun. I mean, this I love. When we went to Blake's, we've worked several weddings with him, and we worked bell to bell, and it's fun. I mean, we worked the bar, we worked the setting up and everything. We just like the whole atmosphere. So.
You're
Um,
so cute.
yeah. Listen, listen. So it's no,
To jade
nothing.
you.
I know,
I'm not trying to
I
jade
know,
you,
I
but
know.
I just want to pinch your cheeks. You're adorable.
Nothing is easy. Selling lemonade successfully is not easy. Nothing comes easy, and we know. Believe me, we have had a very tough time getting to this position.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jennifer said, if you knew everything that we've had to go through today, to the point that we are right now, we're not even open. We'll be open in last 2 weeks of November. Would you have done this? I said, absolutely not, because there's been so many things that's
Yeah.
curveballs that
Yeah.
you asked earlier. What are some of
Yeah.
the tough things? I can't even tell you because there's so many tough things that's come our
Yeah.
way.
You could write a book.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the way that we look at it is when we pass that hurdle, it's fun. We're not going to look at it. We're just going to keep looking forward. There's another one. We anticipate, hey, other things are going to come up, but I mean, it's so cliche. You fall, you get back up. That's the only thing you can do. You cannot build a business, whether you have a successful lemonade stand with 75 employees at every corner in town, or you have a venue, a successful venue. You can't build any business without a ton of hurdles, and we're used to that. It's not, this is,
Yeah.
we went through COVID and then a chip shortage in the industry that I'm in. It's
Mm-hmm.
impossible to do
Mm-hmm.
what we were doing, but we hunkered down and we continued to go on. We worked harder. When I opened our business in the recession at the end of '08,
Yeah.
that's when I opened our
Mm-hmm.
original business. So, and everybody was telling us, you're absolutely insane. There's dealership. GM filed for bankruptcy. The government is backing the warranties because people are wondering what's going to happen to my new car warranty. This was back in 2008. People that were in the business, they remember all that. But it's, I'm okay. I don't like that kind of stuff. I don't like to suffer. But I do believe that when you do have suffering, you become callous to certain things and it helps
Resilient.
you. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
helps you.
Mm-hmm.
100% helps you. It's not all
Yeah.
easy and flowers, and we know that from experience.
Yeah. Yeah. So you are doing it. Do I understand this correctly? You are the main one that's doing, Tony, you're doing all the tours and sales right now.
Right. So, right, Jennifer was, and then now she is in so she's an interior designer. So she's in the stage now. They're asking her, how do you want the bathrooms to look? What do you want this and what? And she'll show me 100 different tiles that she wants on the walls and in the bathrooms and this and that. And I can't keep track of that because I'm not good. If I'm picking stuff, I don't know, but she's redone homes and she's done interior design, like Victorian home, and I know the end product looks unbelievable. So I told her, why don't you just handle that? And then she said, you go ahead and do the tours and the sales. And I took over, was it about 2 months ago, a month ago?
No, about a month
A
ago.
month ago, and it's great. I mean, I get the appointments come in on Calendly, and I do a follow up with them on a text to confirm. It's been working out great. They meet me there. We start the house. I tell them the story about Jennifer and the property and the meaning behind everything. And it's a 15-minute thing in the home. I walk them through. Then we go to the property and walk through the chapel. At this point, the clients understand why we built it, and we're doing this for a feeling, and then I tell them, I want you to experience that when you walk through the chapel, and I'm going to take you down there. And they walk through. I've had brides get teary-eyed when they walk through, and there's two by
Mhm.
fours on the floor with ladders, and some of the
Mhm.
windows aren't in. But the anticipation they've had before coming to the
Yep.
property, watching the website, they've
Yep.
already sold themselves
Yep.
on wanting to get married there, and that's what we want. We want people to enjoy that day, and it's not just a plot of land that we just went and made a bid on and purchased 6 months ago and decided, okay, we're going to put a
Mhm.
venue here. She grew up.
Mhm.
She was not born when her mom finished building the house, and then her mom raised her and her brother and sister there. I
Yeah.
mean, it goes way back to 1927 or 1930 when a
Yeah.
great grandmother.
Amazing. 100 years.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
it's unbelievable.
So your first weddings, you said, are at the end of November.
No, we open up our
No,
grand opening,
your
and you're
your
welcome
grand
to fly
opening.
out for the grand opening. But our grand opening, we'll have an open house. We're not pushing for any weddings this year. We just want to have an open
Okay.
house. We had a chapel signing event, which I think you saw a video of.
I did.
And
It's
then
so cool.
at the end of this month, we're having a VIP event for vendors. So we
I
invite the
saw that.
vendors. We're gonna have
Very good.
food and just open house for probably a weekend, like a grand opening open house. We'll have an end of
Mhm.
summer
Mhm.
party, and then our first wedding is in April of 2027. That's when our
Awesome.
first wedding is.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So you guys are the business model that you have is basically accommodations, a venue only, basically. I mean, venue and obviously your chapel and all of that, but you're not all inclusive at this point. You have a preferred vendor
Not
list.
yet, but I just listened to one of your other podcasts. That's probably what we'll end up doing. As of right
You
now,
know, wink, 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 do it. But I actually, whenever working with a client now, I typically don't have people go straight into that because, like you said, you're learning
right.
so much
Yeah.
right now, and I feel like a good couple years of, I don't want to say jaded, but it's the word that comes into my mind. Like you just got to get a little understand the industry a
Sure,
little bit
Yeah.
more,
sure.
understand like, oh, these are vendors that I really don't like to
Right.
work with. And like, like you just learn some things. So I think it's smart for you to do that, but it's always, my favorite thing for sure. So I want to talk a little bit about your social media. It's so very important, and the
Yeah.
whole branding side of this. I'm getting ready to go speak at another conference in Missouri and just talking a little bit about culture. And you may be like, why culture in social media? Well, here's the thing. Like, I believe that there's so much about who you guys are and the culture that you're trying to create, which really that's kind of what it is, right? Like, you're trying to, and it's not just about a product, it's about a feeling. And the culture it begins with Tony and Jennifer, right?
Mhm.
And it is seeps into your social media, right? And so your clients get to come in and enjoy the culture that you guys have created there. And your website and you guys as individuals, your social media are all things that have to live in harmony with one another. So obviously you guys have been intentional. Like this cannot be an accident. Looking at your website, seeing you guys who you are, just such genuine godly good people, and your social media is it's just very cohesive. What was the thought process behind that? Who's doing it, first of all? Is it you guys or are you hiring someone? Talk to us a little bit about social media.
I'm gonna let it's Tony. It's Tony. Thank God. I'm still trying to log into Instagram.
Oh my gosh.
So it's Tony, but I think that I'll jump in here before you get a little bit more like technical. Him and I both agreed we wanted all the attention, the social media, all these things. We wanted it to be, yeah, we're the face, we're the owners, we're the face behind the venue, but the venue is the couples. The venue, it belongs to every couple that is going to get married there now, 2 years from now, and it's all about them. It's about the venue, but the venue is about them. So we didn't want to do this I don't know what the word I'm looking for, trendy kind of look at us, look at the venue, look at us, look at the venue. This is for you guys. So if that explains it well
Yeah.
enough, I'm gonna let Em take it over because
No, I just took that because she is super articulate. So when she told me how she wants this and she keeps saying, "Hey, I want this and I want that," and I'll jump and I'll try this and I'll try that. But when she was telling me we need to, and she gets serious, you better listen. So she said we need to make sure that the venue has its own pulse. So it has its own life. And she was right because that's what we want to do. We wanted to make sure that the venue is 90% and the owners are 10 or even less than that because people do like to see who you're doing business with.
Yeah, they
They
do.
do like to
Hmm.
see, they do like to see the bio. They want to see, are you real? Do you have children? Are you a real person? It's about them and it's about the venue. It's not about you. It's not about everything being centered around you. You are not the center of attention. And if you can understand that and really mold your marketing based on that, think
Yeah.
it'll, I mean, obviously make yourself available. We have us on a 5 second, like a June update. We had a June update, construction update. We're doing another one for July and August until we're open. In the
Hmm.
beginning, it's just
Hmm.
like, hey guys, welcome to the Promise of 2912. And I even forgot to say this is Tony, and she forgot to say this is Jen. We didn't want to do the talking, and our media guy, he was like the guy that's doing the recording for that. He said, hey, you guys got to talk, and Jennifer was like, I don't want to talk because it's not about me. I mean, just take the video of the space. That's what we want to do. So and it had a wonderful response. She didn't say this is this room, these are the windows, these are, and this is what we did. Here's the roof, here's this. She didn't do any of that. If you watch that video, it's a 12 or 15, 20-second video. We had some bloopers, but um it's worked great. And I think that's what venue owners, if it works for you, do that. It's working for us by, and that's what we wanted to do. We
Yeah, and
wanted to,
a lot of people are very uncomfortable behind the camera. That is so common. And so
yes,
don't feel bad, but I think we're harder on ourselves than we should be because you both do a very good job, behind the camera. And they do. You're right. They want to know who they're buying from.
sure,
Mhm.
sure.
It really is so very important. And again, it is a part of the culture that you're creating there because you want it to be, like you're coming home,
Mhm.
and
Right.
you guys are the ones that are creating that home and the warmth. And so I think that's a really special thing. So speaking of home and warmth, and it makes me think of hospitality and the things that you are doing for your guests. I saw a video or a picture or something of your thank you gifts that you send to
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
And I love that. That's always been a really important part for me. And a lot of venues do this, so I wasn't unique in that way. But I started doing thank you gifts, gosh, probably 15 years ago or something like that. And I budgeted a good amount of money for them. Like I had handmade like clay coffee cups with our a beautiful picture of our venue on it and like just some, and they were not, I think one mug was $50.
Wow.
Wow.
And but it was so important to me that these couples felt my gratitude for them
Mhm.
choosing a local small business. Like I
Uh-huh.
didn't want it to be like, here's some pens and a notepad with our logo on it from Vistaprint. Like I just wanted it to be something that matched my brand too. And being a little bit more of a higher level venue, I personally sent thank you notes with always my handwriting.
Mhm.
My assistants were always like, Tirza, let us do it. Let us do it. And I'm like, no, this is the one thing that I'm not going to give to you, because I actually would pray for them. And it was, to me, it was an act of gratitude, kind of just like, thank you, God, for another person that believed in our business. You know, you always want to stay in that place of
Mhm.
gratitude, right? And so if you're not sending thank you notes, just side note to listeners, be doing that. And I think it is something that's worth you doing yourself. And I would take those letters, and sometimes in 1 week, I'd be sending 10, 12 thank you notes out to people. And I would just stand at the mailbox and thank God for
Mhm.
Yeah.
his blessing on my business. Tell me about your gift baskets. They look beautiful.
No.
When the couples book, get a nice. We have custom made boxes with our logo on it, and yeah, I'm
Mhm.
actually gonna. We're making a few today because we had a couple contracts signed, and we send them out sometimes 2, 3, 4 at a time. But we have they've kind of evolved a little bit, but they're not that much. Like we started getting custom made ceramic cups with our logo, the 2912 on one side and the chapel logo on the other. And there's a local chocolate store that
Yeah,
makes
little
custom.
local candy store, a
Yeah.
cake
Mhm.
shop.
And then we partnered up with a coffee shop, a roaster where she has her own brand on the coffee, and then she put our logos on the coffee. It's just a pound of coffee beans. We have vow books in there for his and her, and there's a few other items that we put, intentional
Candle.
items. A candle it's a nice candle that Jennifer gets. So I said, do we get Bath and Body Works candles? She's like, no, you don't get that.
And I love
You get
those.
these candles that I'm like, you are like 5 times more. But anyway, so she gets those candles, and there's a couple other things in there, just intentional that she picked out, and for the couple that relates well with them being engaged. And we have couples reached out and they posted on Instagram and tag us, but they
Mhm.
send us a text
Mhm.
message and say, thank you so much for the vow books. I was actually going to buy, that was on my list, and just things like that. We love doing that. I mean, it's fulfilling. It's one of them things that just makes us feel great that people enjoyed getting something like that. And we're thankful that they're getting married there. So
I don't think our investment in those boxes are very much. We shop around forever and price compare forever.
Yeah.
we don't want it to be cheap either.
No, we don't
Yeah.
want it to be cheap, but I think that we have found a good medium where we're still being able to give a really nice box.
There is a feel good for that couple in that moment. I
Right.
think that that's very important. Yeah, the added bonus of them tagging you and your beautiful gift is a fun little thing. Obviously, you're not doing it for that purpose.
No.
But again, it all circles back to, I believe that it is the act of gratitude for you guys in that moment to do that for them. Really, really important part of the process. That if we ever lose sight of that,
Yeah.
even if you've been doing this for 10 or 15, 20 years, whatever, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I lost sight of the gratitude side of it. I think it's really important, no matter how
Yeah.
long you've been doing this, if you're not at the very, very least writing a thank you note to these people, you need to start doing that right away. Because listen, our businesses are not our own. We don't know what the future holds for our lives. And so everything that we have, these are things that we have to hold lightly. And
Agreed.
it was something that brought me back on a weekly basis back to humility and gratitude. And yeah, I just love that. I'm glad that we jumped on that just a little bit, because you've done a really, really good job of it. Thank you for being here. And in the show notes, we'll definitely put a link to your Instagram so people could follow along and just see your journey. And I definitely want to have you back on the show in the next year so that
Love it.
you can tell us
Yes,
the the
for
real
sure. Yeah.
behind the scenes of what's been going on with you guys
Yeah.
and some more lessons that you've learned. But thank you so much for coming on today, for being so open about your journey. I see that this is going to be an incredible place for years to come. So well done, you guys.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much
much.
for having us.
Oh,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome. We will see you guys next time on the Venue Success Podcast.